So I think my sound is on now. Okay, there we go. And xuanet has taken the lead in this round 4 Crazy House World Championship qualifying match. And quite convincing. I'm a bit surprised. Morlockk didn't have much up his sleeve in that peace sacrifice line we saw in the second game. So what's this? Is it some sort of theoretical line again? Okay, so if the knight takes here, you can see queen h4 picking up the pawn, but maybe, just maybe, that is how white needs to play it. Okay, so black has a pawn for the piece. And this looks rather loose, but very active. Both players taking some risks here. As you can see, and I'm a bit surprised about this also, xuanet has a huge lead in their mutual encounters. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Morlockk likes to berserk when he plays tournaments. Maybe. So obviously black would like to open up the d-file here and trade queens maybe and get a mating attack. But maybe white can get a queen trade on his terms. Looks as if pawn e7 is necessary, but then rook d1, and you would need to put a knight in a horribly passive position here on d7. That's not where you want it. So instead black goes for a active defense here, keeping the knight g4 check in but this is almost mate. Is it mate? Queen takes here? I don't see the mate. The king can run. So where was the mate? Am I blind or what? He resigned. Ah, queen takes e6. I'm blind. That settles it. Okay, 3-0. xuanet, very impressive. And black keeps. But what's this? This is unusual. A very early piece sacrifice by white. I'd say it's a bit dubious, because black gets to swing this knight over to the king's side, and all sort of stuff can happen here with this knight. Black might even consider just taking on g2. I would certainly be very tempted to take on g2. not only do you get a breach in the defense, but you also get a pawn in hand. So yeah, well, obviously taking the knight with the king would be very dangerous, and the knight so close in front of the king is not a very dangerous attacking piece at all, because actually it shelters the king a little bit, but you can always step back and then you have some possibilities again. So there's the mating threat here, but not so easy to get there. Remember that black doesn't have any blockers, so a bishop check here might be a bit awkward for black. Or should you use your bishop in hand and keep this bishop on this diagonal? And still, in this position, black doesn't have the necessary pawn to mate, so some sort of bishop check here. And if the knight lands here, surely black will take there and then take on h3. So white spends a move. Just to stabilize things here. Maybe you want to keep the pawn for some promotion maneuver here at some point. So taking on g2, then black would be 2 tempi away from a dangerous attack. So maybe white could shift to checking on e7 then. And here you could promote, actually, because if the knight takes, you have knight e7, and if the queen takes, you have bishop takes. With an ongoing attack, you have knight e7 threats. So why not just promote here to a queen? I don't see why white shouldn't promote the pawn there. And welcome everybody. Sorry for the mishap in the beginning. I didn't know my mic wasn't working. I haven't been streaming here for a while, so. Now, actually, black has some counter chances. So look out for queen f8. Possibly bishop takes. But why not just waste one move, take on e8. The knight is covering here, so there's no smothered mate. The knight is also covering f6. But maybe white will play something silly like queen takes d5 then and start using his knights. So this is probably safer, yeah. Not so safe, maybe. Looks like white got black there. Yep. But this was an interesting game. I had a suggestion here. Yeah, e8 queen. Lovely game by white so far, but e8 queen was surely the best. But this was not necessarily bad either. But somewhere here he lost control. Pawn g2. Yeah, this looked dangerous, but is it? Bishop g2. Yeah, maybe it's not just nonsense. After a while, the computer likes white's position again. Just a few checks. And then white is in the driver's seat again. So let's get back to this game. And what happened in the opening? Xuanet takes on d5 instead. And starts massaging this knight and this pawn. Black giving up the b7 pawn, but the knight is a bit displaced there on b7. So I don't quite like the sight of two knights defending each other so far away from where the action actually is. So if you just play, I don't know, queen a6, yeah. I think black looks active here. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was surprised. So black decides to win some material here, win back some material. Everything is covered on the back rank, so the rook doesn't seem very dangerous. Wow. So if you take here, pawn d7, rook e8 mate. And this is an actual threat. You threaten to take g4, or with the queen or with the knight. So this looks like a very strong move. Suddenly the two pawns and the rook in hand are very useful also. white could go pawn c6 maybe. And after this, what do you do here? Well, simply taking on d7 is probably very good, displacing the king here, forever putting it in the center. This also looks good, but instead of taking on e7 with the king, black checks and takes with the bishop instead. So I would probably be a bit pragmatic here and take d7, just to make sure that the king, black king, stays in the center, unless it pays some sort of cost. So I suppose the idea is to lure the queen away and play rook b8. Now it's possible maybe to take on d8 and then take on d7, but look out for moves like pawn e2 here. If white isn't careful, black could start a quick counterattack. Let's say you take on d8, bishop takes, knight takes d7. Of course you don't take back with the king because a knight c5 check for king, king and queen. So this attacks the queen and defends e2 a little bit. But now black got the chance to pin the knight. So all of a sudden it seems balanced, I would say. White doesn't have any pieces at the moment, so he needs a piece to keep his initiative. And as much as black likes to castle, maybe it was wrong to take with the bishop on d8. Maybe taking with the king so you don't allow the knight c5 was better. Black, with a lot of stuff in hand, tries to go for a ferocious counterattack here. Look out for queen at d7 check. If black stops checking, queen at d7. The idea being bishop takes, queen takes f7. But black spotted that idea. And white is in slight trouble here, I'd say. Defending e6. Nifty little move. But there's not e5 check, which is annoying. Now the king is cut off. No way back. But black doesn't have anything in hand, which is annoying. Obviously. And now white just crashed through, I was about to say, but yeah, he found the knight h8 check. Fascinating game, and let's have a quick recap. As I said, I don't like the cluttered white knights here. Black is actually better. But taking on d6 with the bishop was the way to go. Preparing a quick castling for black. So this was a bit dangerous after this fine move by white. So white is a lot better. Pawn a6 wasn't the best. And yeah. Was there any chance here? Here actually white missed a nice chance by queen takes h7 maybe. Okay, queen at c6 also. This was too passive, and actually black is better here for a while, until he forgot to castle. He preserved the right to castle for so long, maybe he forgot he had the right to do it. And what about this position? Is black okay here? It looks dangerous, but you need to be so careful. Okay, so bishop at a3 was a chance. Let's get back to the game, because a lot of things are happening here. We played 11 moves and we have a super sharp position. The thing with pawn at h3 is you try to weaken f3. If white takes here, you have knight f3, forking king and queen. So this threatens mate. And this obviously attacks the queen and simultaneously defends f7. And this is where we are now. Could this be prep by Morlockk? I don't know. It does threaten to... What about if you take here? Well, knight g6 sure looks very ugly. But I'm not entirely sure here. So threats and counter threats. xuanet seems to be defending this nicely. He wants to get the chance to take on g2. And this strong bishop move seems to hold everything together like super glue. It attacks the queen and defends g8, giving black time probably to take on g2 in the next move. Unless, of course, white takes on h7 when you just take the queen, I guess. So isn't this just good for black? If the rook moves, you could even take on h2. Now we have the chance to take the rook. So the rook hangs, and then you can take back maybe on h7. And surely you don't want this pawn to promote, so you had better take it maybe, even though it costs a valuable tempo. There are other ideas like rook g1 check, queen takes, knight e2 check maybe. Is that maybe even good for black? Because I was thinking king d1 and then the important pawn e2 and take on g1 with check. Yeah, and xuanet goes for this idea. Nice to see everybody watching. But I was thinking maybe take with the queen, knight f3, king f1, and then in case of pawn e2, can you play king g2, or is it just too dangerous? Yeah. So is there something wrong with taking the queen? I don't see it. Now there's a lot of threats here for black. White desperately pushes forward, but there are simply no more checks. And now there are several winning ideas there, but I don't think this was the quickest one. I thought that was a forced mate. Here. Knight f3. Take on on f1. Never mind. This should be mate as well. Closing one exit, delivering mate on e2. And it's 5-1 in favor of xuanet. Against Morlockk, who was 2600 the other week. So he must have been in great shape before this match. So black wants to regain one pawn for the sacrificed piece, but white is about to make if he gets the time to put the king in safety. Rook f1, king g1. White is just crushing here. But at the moment, well, this is now the queen covers. This seems good for white. And this pawn structure is always annoying for black. He's gasping for breath. The white pieces have much greater freedom. And once again, Morlockk is a bit desperate here. Cutting off the bishop. Threatening mate on e7 once again. So very tempting just to tuck the king away and start hammering here on f5. Because both the bishop and the d pawn are covering e7. So king back, take f5, take f5. So this threatens queen d8. You can probably even take with the queen here. What has so much? Take with the bishop. Take back with the bishop. Just watch out for the bishop landing here on this diagonal. While starts up his attack, he has knight e5. Check coming maybe. This controls the important diagonals in the position. Maybe queen at d8 will happen. It sure looks very dangerous because wasn't it just outright winning in the... Yeah. If the king takes, you have knight e5 mate. So this is lost for black. Who's probably wondering what the hell went wrong in this match. So you just pick up the pieces here. Maybe bishop e7, just take the rook. Take everything. Hopeless for black. Maybe just take with the bishop on d6 for a little bit of fun. So white is threatening to mate on f8. And black just doesn't have anything. You can take the knight. You can queen the c pawn. Okay, so finally Morlockk resigned. Wow, that was a very impressive win by xuanet. Congratulations, he's through to the 5th round. And let's look at the tree. What's happening there? In the next round. He's playing the winner between Mills Gambit and Senescent Cell. So very likely xuanet will win the next round as well. Some dangerous players here. Clearcast, Garnek123, Master Tan, and Terra 87. Alright. Thank you so much for watching. I accidentally turned on the computer and saw that there was a match happening here. Sorry for the lost sound in the first game, but the exciting games spoke for themselves there in the beginning. Hope to see you soon. Take care and bye-bye.